This is one of those moments where you can feel the tension through the screen. Congresswoman Diana DeGette absolutely refuses to let Secretary RFK Jr. dodge even a single question, hammering him on everything from ignored oversight letters to allegations of politicizing science at the NIH. And what unfolds next is pure accountability in action.
I'm going to yield back and recognize the gentlelady from Colorado, Ranking Member DeGette, for 5 minutes of questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, members of this subcommittee sent you letters seeking information on February 13th, February 28th, March 13th, March 20th, March 25th, April 1st, April 3rd, April 9th, April 10th, April 11th, April 28th, April 29th, May 28th, June 10th, June 11th, June 17th, June 22nd, and June 23rd, to which we have received no response from your agency whatsoever. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to enter these into the record, please.
Without objection.
Thank you. On June 16th, a federal judge ruled a large swath of NIH grant terminations illegal and void and vacated them, requiring that the grants resume. These grants deal with science that is disfavored by this administration, as we just heard from the witness. Judge William Young, a Reagan appointee, said that the administration's explanations for terminating the grants were, quote, bereft of reasoning virtually in their entirety, end quote. He added, quote, I've sat on this bench now for 40 years, and I've never seen government racial discrimination like this, end quote. Mr. Secretary, I have a yes or no question. Does the department intend to comply with Judge Young's ruling? Yes or no?
I will comply with
yes
the
or
law.
No, sir?
I'll comply with the law.
Thank you. As reported, in your opening statement, Mr. Secretary, you said that you're committed to reducing bureaucracy. But as reported in the Washington Post on April 17, 2025, HHS imposed a new layer of bureaucratic review by which every disbursement has to go through political appointments at HHS. Hospitals, universities, and community health organizations have told me and the other members lately that funds are stuck at HHS due to this so-called Defend the Spend initiative. I asked you about this in the April 23rd letter over 2 months ago, to which you have not responded, and I'd like some answers. Yes or no? Did HHS conduct a cost-benefit analysis on the Defend the Spend procedures?
I don't know anything
You
about
don't
that
know,
Washington
okay.
Post article.
In letters, you don't know whether you did a cost-benefit analysis, right?
I don't know. I know that. I don't
Okay.
know anything about that Washington Post article.
No, do you know anything about the Defend the Spend initiative?
About what?
The Defend the Spend initiative that your agency has. You don't know about it. Mr. Chairman, I have an article here dated April 17, 2025 about the Defend the Spend initiative. I'd like unanimous consent to enter it into the
Without objection.
Now, in Mr. Secretary, on June 9th, hundreds of NIH scientists sounded the alarm on how this administration has wasted millions of research dollars, injected politics into science, and damaged the public trust. 68 Nobel laureates signed this letter. On June 10th, we sent you a letter. Of course, we haven't gotten a response with our concerns that you or your staff might retaliate against them for telling the truth. So here's my question. Will you commit today that neither you or anyone else at HHS will take any retaliatory action against the brave scientists that work at NIH? This should be an easy answer because it's illegal.
I can commit that we are absolutely depoliticizing science at
Will
NIH
you
for the
commit
first
that
time.
you will not take any
Biden
retaliation?
administration,
Excuse me.
Ms. Chairwoman, the Biden administration politicizes science, and I just gave you 3 of thousands of examples of how they did that.
Excuse me, sir. I asked you a simple question. Will you commit to not taking retaliatory action against the NIH scientists that signed the letter about the research dollars? Yes
I don't
or no?
know anything about that letter.
You don't know about the letter?
No,
okay.
I don't know anything about that letter. This is
Okay,
the
well,
first
we'll
I've
put
heard
that.
of it.
We already put that, our question in the record. I'd like a response. Now, in my last few minutes, In our letters dated February 28th, April 1st, and May 28th, to which you did not respond, we have some questions about reductions in force. How many HHS employees received RIF notices since you were sworn in?
I think around 10,000.
10,000. Did you personally approve those layoff decisions?
Of each one, I approved of the policy.
Thank you. You approved the policy. Your NIH director, Jay Bhattacharya, told employees, quote, "I actually don't have any transparency into how those decisions were made, and I was quite upset about that. It would have been nice to have some say." I guess I'll follow up with more written questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. The gentlelady yields.
What we just witnessed here between Congresswoman Diana DeGette and Secretary RFK Jr. wasn't just another tense congressional exchange. It was a moment that revealed something much deeper about how power, transparency, and science now collide in the American government. DeGette's line of questioning wasn't random, it was methodical. She walked through a trail of unanswered letters, legal rulings, and internal complaints that, taken together, paint a disturbing picture of dysfunction and evasion at one of the most important federal agencies in the country, the Department of Health and Human Services. DeGette starts by outlining a staggering timeline, more than a dozen formal letters sent over months, all ignored. That alone is an institutional failure. In the history of congressional oversight, when members of Congress send inquiries to a department head, those responses are not optional. They are a fundamental part of how the legislative branch holds the executive accountable. When the agency refuses to respond, that's not just bureaucracy being slow, that's a breakdown of democratic accountability. And DeGette, clearly frustrated, was not going to let that slide. Then comes the bombshell moment, the mention of a federal judge ruling that a major wave of NIH grant terminations was bereft of reasoning. That's judicial language for, "This makes no sense." It's not political commentary, it's a Reagan-appointed judge essentially saying that the administration acted without lawful justification. And when the judge says he's never seen discrimination like this in 40 years, that's not hyperbole, that's an alarm bell. DeGette was using that ruling to underscore a point. If a judge has to step in to stop what looks like politically motivated terminations, what does that say about how decisions are being made under Secretary RFK Jr.? But the exchange takes an even more revealing turn when DeGette brings up the Defend the Spend initiative. Now, on the surface, that sounds like a good thing, defending how public funds are spent. But as she points out, it's become a bureaucratic choke point. Every disbursement now has to pass through political appointees. Think about what that means. Universities, hospitals, and research institutions that rely on federal grants are suddenly bottlenecked by politics. Scientists can't get funding approved. Projects stall. Research suffers. This isn't just about inefficiency. This is about control. It's about politicizing the purse strings of science, and DeGette is trying to drag that into the light. When she brings up the letter signed by 68 Nobel laureates, some of the brightest scientific minds alive, warning that this administration is injecting politics into science, that's extraordinary. You don't get dozens of Nobel laureates to sign a collective protest unless the situation is truly alarming. And what does RFK Jr. say? That he doesn't even know about the letter. That's not just evasive, it's dismissive. If the top health official in the country is unaware of a public statement signed by Nobel winners accusing his department of undermining science, then either he's being willfully blind or he's lost control of the agency he's supposed to lead. And then there's the human cost. 10,000 HHS employees laid off. 10,000 people who worked in a department responsible for protecting the health and safety of Americans. DeGette presses him on whether he personally approved those layoffs, and he says he approved the policy, not the decisions. That might sound like a distinction, but it's not. When you approve a policy that results in 10,000 people losing their jobs, you own that outcome. What's remarkable here is how DeGette never loses focus. She doesn't get drawn into side debates. She doesn't let him filibuster. She keeps pulling the conversation back to accountability, something that has become all too rare in these hearings. And by the end, when she says she'll follow up with written questions, it's not a surrender, it's a promise. This exchange should make every viewer think critically about the balance between politics and science, and about what happens when transparency is replaced by silence. Because when a department stops responding to Congress, when scientists feel threatened for speaking the truth, and when funding for research gets tangled in politics, it's not just about bureaucratic dysfunction, it's about democracy itself. If you've watched this and felt that same unease that DeGette's questioning exposed, you're not alone. These moments matter because they show us how fragile our systems of accountability really are, and how much depends on those willing to challenge power publicly, persistently, and fearlessly. If you want to keep seeing these exchanges broken down and analyzed through the lens of truth, context, and accountability, make sure you're subscribed to Left Lens. Hit that like button, share this commentary, and let's keep this conversation alive. Because the more we understand what's happening in those hearing rooms, the better equipped we all are to demand integrity from those who lead.